up, people? Welcome to a brand new Wrestle update. I'm your host, as always, Dylan Fox, joined by my good friend and yours, Nello de Angelis, all the way from the west side of this United States. And we are here to talk about, really do something we've never done before. To be honest, I was thinking about it, I was looking it up and going through the archives, and it occurred to me that we have never done a show about TNA Pro Wrestling, Total Nonstop Action. And it just so happens that they have a major debut on a major network, AMC, American Movie Classics, although I don't think they're like that anymore. But they're a network. They're on TV. It's a new show, new beginning, big changes promised, great action, signings, surprises, maybe reveals. All of that stuff was promised to us. And Nello, I do want to say, you, with everything I thought, I really felt like maybe you weren't that excited to do this. That maybe...
I mean, What?
I was just going to say, maybe you weren't excited, but you came in, you came through, and I have to come to you, and I have to be an adult, somebody who speaks with his heart, and everyone knows I'm an emotional guy. You've heard it on the other shows. Everybody's listening and knows that. And I have to be honest with you, Nello, I apologize for coming up with this idea. I have to say I'm sorry to you right now. I have to apologize to the listeners. I know a lot of people might be mad at me for even putting this content out there in the airwaves, but I wanted to be the bigger person. I wanted to be the adult and hopefully win some points with you and all the listeners right now, because this was my idea. I'm standing on business. I made the call, and I apologize.
No, I mean, it was like all I heard, like the premiere happened, and then I was just like, all I heard was just how fucking bad it was. And then a few hours later, you text me, I have an idea for a show or something like that. And I just knew what it was going to be. And it's funny because, like, you know, without spoiling too much, I went into this with the lowest expectations possible, and it was still one of the worst things I've seen.
It went below even your already low expectations.
Yes.
So right away, I think we have to give it up to, again, the wonderful people at Cagematch.net. The inmates, they had their say on this show, Nello. 1.55 rating. One of the lowest rated shows in the history of pro wrestling on the website. And we talked about it. I mean, this came in from Garland, Texas, the Curtis Colwell Center. They had about 2,800 fans in there. Who knows how many of them paid? Some of them paid. Some of them we know didn't, actually, because some of the celebrities were admitted that they got given free tickets to the show. So we have so much to talk about with this show. Like, we could go in so many different directions. I will bravely ask, because like you said, by this point, I think it's fair to say you were not a regular TNA Impact viewer on Axis. Am I correct in that statement?
Yeah.
And I've caught bits and pieces. Usually if there's a big TNA show, I try to catch it just for a completionist type of sake. I try to come through, look at what they got going on. But definitely not a regular viewer. I do admit that fact. But with that said, you did know, and you did, when we talked about this, you showed respect for AMC as a network and said it was a good quality network. Am I correct in that as well?
I think back in the day, definitely, like during the Breaking Bad, early Walking Dead era, it was like definitely one of the proponents of the quote unquote new golden age of television.
And they continue on their historic run with Black Winds, which I now know more about than I ever thought I would know about, thanks to this very show we're talking about. So things have moved along. That's a far cry from Walking Dead and all of that, Breaking Bad and Mad Men and whatnot. TNA follows that lineage, and I will say this: we go into these shows, and I almost am afraid to ask what your reaction will be to this question, but knowing what you know, knowing what you knew, knowing that I was going to ask you to watch this stupid show, what was your vibe going into the show? Were you at least curious? Were you somewhat excited in almost a train wreck kind of way? You can't turn away from this. I want to see if it's really as bad as people say. Was there any hope of that with you, or were you just like, why, Dylan? Why did you say this?
No, I was excited to watch the car crash. Definitely.
And we didn't even know any of the card outside of the title match. And in fact, a couple of matches were supposed to happen, didn't happen. Why, you ask? Because, first of all, they had originally planned for Leon Slater to take on Myron Reed, and both competitors in that match were not able to make it. First of all, there were numerous visa issues, which not only happened, they talked about them on the show.
Oh, the
which,
international visa crisis, Dylan. That's what it was referred to as.
Sure. That's what Santino says, anyway. But yeah, so that happened. And then the Rascals, all four of them signed to AEW. Wentz, Xavier, Trey Miguel, and Myron Reed. They're all in AEW now. They're there to save the tag team division in their own way, if you can call it that. But yeah, a big rating here from AEW here. They took the Rascals and Jake something coming in there. Do you think? What's your kind of thoughts on the Rascals in AEW? First of all, do you think they've got any future there, really, or any upside?
Definitely. I think the Rascals are super fun. I fucked with MSK back in the day. I fucked with the Rascals
Yeah,
before that. I think they're super fun. I already like the presentation they're giving them, the cartoon graphics, the weird little stuff. Like that's how they thrive, just let them be themselves. So I'm very hyped to see what the Rascals do in AEW.
and it is a loss for TNA because these were some of their main guys. To be honest, Jake something he never really got pushed, but these guys were a part of TNA. Overall. So, like, losing them is a loss to the show, and it cost us the X Division title match, which was one of many, many, many huge blunders on this show. Right away, that right there kind of tells you that this show was going off the rails. There was a couple of moments early on where I thought, oh man, and I watched this live, so I didn't have you know, the knowledge you had going into it, Nello. I was just watching, seeing what was going to happen, and trying to vibe with it the best I could, and hope that it overachieved and did some good things. But when I knew that there wasn't an X Division title match on a TNA debut show, I knew that we were in trouble. Like that, that right away.
But Dylan, it was part of the international visa crisis.
That's true. I suppose. That's what Santino told us. I cannot verify Santino's information. But either way, I mean, they weren't the only ones. Danny Luna got called away too. Somehow Joe Hendry's here. Like, it's a lot. We'll just get into it. We'll go through the show. I don't want to lose my cool right away. But we have, and I'll throw right away. And before we get into the nuts and bolts of the show, because we are going to have a lot to talk about. First impressions of all of this. They had the opening video. You had the commentary team. You have the set. What did you think of all this? How do you think they looked in terms of a quote-unquote major league show here and how they had their presentation for the show?
It didn't.
Yeah, it seems like it's the exact same as on Axis, which was very low rent.
I was expecting to see some sort of like difference in the production. Like, okay, how are they going to present things now? And this felt like a TNA show from 2014.
Yeah, not the golden years of TNA, the Destination America like level, I would say. But did you have any thoughts on the commentary overall? Tom Hennefan and Matt Rehwoldt.
Um,
Bland and inoffensive is how I would describe them.
yeah, no, for sure. Like, and I used to like Tom a lot, but I think it's because what they're talking about is so fucking shitty
That's
that like,
true.
and they're hyping it up as like we're the company, and so it's very hard to take anything they're saying seriously.
Just by existing, they've lost credibility on this show, is what you're saying, pretty much.
Yep.
Um, and that's the sad case. But they were fine. I have no negative thoughts or positive, really. I thought they were perfectly fine. So they come in, they bring out a new video, I suppose, which is fine. Like a very normal intro, pretty much. Like nothing different than we've seen on other shows. Then we come out, we see AJ Styles' face on the screen, and then his music hits. Like I think they started his Titantron early, before there, and so they play his music. He comes out and he's like, he cuts a rah rah type of promo. Welcome to the house, AJ Styles built, and he says, "Welcome to the TNA." No, the TNA Nation, and he leads a TNA chant and says, "We're gonna create chaos tonight, and it's bigger, badder, and bolder than ever." And that cuts to Elijah. So, any thoughts on what do you think of the AJ usage on this show? Like, is this the best they got for him? They couldn't have done anything better than this, like generic opening promo.
Dude, it like first off, his graphic pops up and it's like a minute before any
Yeah,
music starts. So there's like a
yeah,
pop, like, holy shit, it's AJ Styles, and then nothing ever comes after it. And then don't they play the wrong music?
yeah. They had to go back to the right one though. But
Dude.
yeah,
And
get
like,
ready to fly. Get ready to fly, AJ.
um, yeah, just like a really bad opening. Also, like I get it's AJ Styles, but he's a WWE guy. Have a TNA talent. Open up your own show. The loudest pops for all the talent on this show were WWE people.
Yeah, and I mean, I have no problem with AJ coming in. He's obviously like the lifeblood of the company that when TNA was actually good, the rare time it was. So I get why they want to crown him as the golden child and all that. They could have used him with one of your guys. At least have them in there together. Like when he came out at Slammiversary when, Leon Slater won the title. Wish he was here. But when he did win the title, AJ came out and congratulated him. That got a huge pop and put Leon Slater over. Here, he didn't really put over anybody that much. I suppose maybe later with Santana. But anyway, the promo was fine. I didn't hate it. It was just very generic. I thought it, and not a good note to start off with. But even still, probably the highlight of the show. Oh, like the one thing that wasn't offensively bad, perhaps, on the show. So they come in. Elijah comes out. The Hardy Boys are out. They take on Order 4. Mustafa Ali, John Schuyler, and Jason Hotch. And already, again, this is one of those moments right away where it's like, okay, you kind of had a generic start to the show. You gave me one blunder with the video playing early, the Titantron playing early or whatever. The second thing that keyed me in, this is going to be a bad show. Uh, Agent Zero, not in this match. The best worker on this whole roster. Like, we're not going to put him in the ring. We're going to put Order 4 instead. And so they come in, they do a generic beatdown. Ali does some heel work. They come back in. They do some basic kind of high flying stuff with Order 4. Hotch and Skylar, they seem pretty good. Like, I've seen them a few times. But again, I would call them pretty average overall. And even still, probably two of the better workers at the end of the day. Tasha Steelz kind of interfered at one point. They came in. Hardy hit the twist of fate on Skyler, and then Jeff ended up hitting the SWAT and just crushed him, landed right on top of him for the win here. And again, this was fine. It's got a 4.54 rating on Cagematch. Not good or bad, but again, I think you could have put on something better than this.
This is your dark opening match. I don't get it. So this is my first time seeing Mustafa Ali in like years.
Yeah, since he left the WWE, probably.
But even before that, because like I didn't really
Oh, yeah.
watch like NXT or whatever he was on. Um, Dude, how is this any different than Retribution?
See,
Like
that's the last time you saw him
they're
was
just
Retribution.
yeah, they're just a geek faction. Like this
They
is
are.
no different than what he was doing before.
And, like, I don't want to say worse because Retribution was god awful, but it's not good either. Like, it's a very not good act. And like I said, I don't mind. I do think Ali's lost a lot. Like, I don't know what happened. I feel like he really lost his motivation somewhere along the line. Because when I think of him, when the Ali you're talking about from before WWE was a fantastic wrestler. And he did a lot of good things in WWE, outside of Retribution, which was terrible. But he was a very good worker. For some reason, he went into the politic gimmick, like the politician type of gimmick, and that just was not a good fit for somebody that we want to see, blow up. I've heard rumors that his booking fee was very high, and that's why he doesn't get a lot on the indies. And it just seems like he's kind of checked out of wrestling. And the other two, again, they seem like good hands, but that's not somebody that's going to blow you away. If you're a first time viewer, none of these people are going to blow you, and that includes Elijah too. On the other end, it's like, how does this represent the spirit of TNA you're
Yeah, like
trying to convey?
I didn't even know he was in TNA, and he comes out and he does the exact same, like word for word,
Yeah, it's
what he
exactly the
did in
same.
WWE. And I'm like, none of this feels like TNA. It feels like it's funny because a lot of people used to like throw like one of like the criticisms they throw at AEW was like, oh, it's just, the WWE rejects. Like, no, dude, this is the fucking WWE rejects. Like one of your biggest matches in Dingo's retirement, Elias opening up the show. Like this is like I don't know, man. I'm happy everyone has jobs.
Yeah, and again, like I said, I thought the heels bumped well for people who aren't very good anymore. To be honest, like I said, I'm trying to find some positives. I'm not hating on the Order 4 too much. But afterwards, again, the best worker of all of them comes in. Agent Zero comes in, lays everybody out. And that was one good thing they actually did. Then things get even worse from where we were at. They said, Nello, you think we've got WWE rejects? Wrong. We've got Ring of Honor rejects too. Because who comes out but the righteous? They drop the Hardys. Uh, they try to hang Jeff by his ear in the corner, and then Vincent does a swanton bomb on Matt, and they say that they're going to become the next TNA Tag Champs. Talk about an act nobody cares about or wants to see on here. And again, this is these are two of your big signings on this show. What kind of message are you sending to the fans here? No interest in the Righteous versus the Hardys in any year, let alone 2026. They Did you have any thoughts on the Righteous though? Are you on their side?
The last time I saw them, MJF beat them 1-2.
Yeah, that's true. that did happen. Like, you're not lying on that. I think that's the best we could all say about them. So they go to the backstage. We have Gia Miller interviewing Frankie Kazarian. Kazarian says another rah-rah generic promo where he's like, this is the biggest show in TNA's history. And then he stops, and AJ Styles comes in. And Kazarian's like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to shake your hand? Do you want me to hug you? Do you want to make out? And then he's like, and AJ's like, what? And then Kazarian's like, you just walked in here like you own this place. And Kazarian's like, you need to say something. You need to say, thank me for the house. And AJ stood there and he was like, well, thanks. And then walked off.
This was
great
so quiet.
segment.
Like it was, I honestly, because like I looked away for a second and then I like went to unpause. I was like, oh shit, it's paused. And I looked back over and these two guys were just standing there in complete fucking silence, staring at each other. I was like, dude, this is like, there's absolutely no audio of the crowd. Like, they have no fucking interest in this. That was one of the things I noticed. If they could be heard for backstage promos, they never popped for a single thing in a backstage promo.
No, and when AJ came out, they were a rowdy crowd at first. That's like the one positive thing I would say for the opening. But yeah, it was like it again. I think that their production values, for whatever reason, and that's another thing, to kind of go back to this Visa stuff, but I don't mean to jump ahead. They had
Dylan,
plenty
please, if we're going to talk about it, refer to it as the international visa crisis. That's what we're dealing with here. It's not just the visas, it's the international visa crisis. This is affecting everyone in TNA, Dylan.
Yeah, okay, you are right. The international visa crisis, also known as the IVC. I forgot to, say that. I apologize again. But, they've known this show was coming. It's not like this just popped up, 5 days ago. They've had months to prepare for this. What were they doing all this time with this international visa crisis? How does this happen? But anyway, I will say the Kazarian AJ thing, that was pretty romantic though, when he asked him if he wanted to kiss him. And they, like you said, they stood there, stared at each other's eyes. I thought we were having a romance angle live on AMC. That would have taken things in a new direction on the show on there. But nevertheless, this is my favorite part of the show. They introduce the celebrities. And we see these who were these people surrounded by empty seats. And they showed the crowd before, and it was a seemingly nice looking venue, but they seemingly put these content creators in the middle of an empty row of seats.
You know what? This was, you know how much this fucking pissed me off, dude? Because we were not invited.
Yeah, I thought that. No joke.
When I didn't see you there, I got furious.
No joke. I literally was thinking about these people. And I thought, would I have made a bigger difference if they had invited me instead of these people? And it's nothing personal against any of these people. I don't know who you are. I'm sorry to say that. I don't know who none of these people are.
One of them was named like Chupa or something. I'm pretty sure.
Well,
Tom Hannafan was like, "Oh my God, look, it's Chupa," and fucking and dude, and yeah, you can see how empty the arena is.
Why
it looked
did
like
they show that shot?
It looked like the extras from like the Pandemic Dynamite when they put the indie wrestlers on the left and right side of the ring.
Yeah, that's exactly how it looked like.
Same energy, dude. This felt so ill-advised, and this lasted a while. This lasted a few minutes, and all I could keep thinking was how there was absolutely no X Division representation. They also showed Eric Young just sitting alone in a chair.
Yes.
He looked like he didn't want to fucking be there either. It just seemed like everything about this, like every facet of the presentation was just so poor.
And I know that they did something on Twitter where they showed these, whoever these people are, and they were doing the Hardy Boys dance, and they were so awkward, all of them, and that nobody knows who these people are. That AJ Francis was there, Top Dollar was in the crowd, sitting by himself with two guys there that were, I presume, were some sort of content creators or maybe wrestlers of some sort. On there, so good for them for getting a spot on this show. And then they cut to Candice Michelle, someone who no one has seen in well over 15 years at this point. And she was there. We have Dolph Ziggler's brother, Ryan Nemeth. He comes out. He's going after the celebrities. They introduce these guys from Black Winds on the show. Too. We cannot forget Black Winds.
Those guys look fucking thrilled to be there. These are the best guests since what was it, Queen of the Ring? The
oh yeah
movie. Please,
Yeah.
we're only in theaters for 3 more days. You need to go see this movie if you want it to be successful. Okay, we're trying to make more movies here, and we love wrestling.
Yes, that's basically exactly how that segment went.
What a
On the pay-per-view,
promo!
the actress broke kayfabe and said, "You guys know who's gonna win already, but it's still exciting." And everyone was like, "Okay, we're going back to Tony in the crowd." But yeah, so they have all these people here. I have no clue what they thought bringing Candace here was gonna do. With all due respect to her, uh, so they come out to the Black Winds. Nemeth comes out and he's like, "You guys suck. I should have more time on the show." He tries to harp the guardrail, crotches himself, and the Black Winds actor chops him and then shoves him down. So perhaps this man has a future career in TNA waiting for him on here. It wouldn't be the worst person they brought into TNA in the past for a celebrity. I will say that. We all remember Jenna Maraska at the end of the day. Uh, who comes out next but Santino? Once again, he mentions the international visa crisis, and he said, I feel way better now than I've been in the last few weeks. And he was like, it doesn't get better than Thursday night on AMC. Does it? Is that the biggest time slot in our society, Nello? Would you argue Thursday night on AMC?
I
It's
mean, I fucking watched it, didn't I?
Yeah, afterwards, after I begged you to watch it, much like the Queen of the Ring director, you did not watch this live, and no one blames you for that. I'm certain. So they were like, we had to fight, do everything we can to get to the top, and nothing will stop us from going even further. And this is the start of a new era. And he was like, yeah, I've been hurt, and I've been down, and I've been confused. But it's hard because your own flesh and blood turned on you. And that was when I suppose they've done some sort of heel turn for his daughter on here. This was the first call to that anyway. And so he's all sad. Then he says, well, we decided to bring in somebody to help me out here and who has great experience. I'm so excited because I know how professional she is. And who does he bring out but the S.U.A.T? S-U-A-T pops up on the video screen. Daria Ray.
Are you
FK.
are you gonna pronounce it the SWAT because it looked like an A and not an I?
It did. Yeah, yes. So it's supposed
bitter.
so it's supposed to be a suit? Like it looked like SWAT to me.
Yeah, because
Like,
at the end she said, "I'm the suit."
you're right. She did say that. You're right. Okay. I apologize again. I'm
No,
getting everything
I thought
wrong.
you were fucking ribbing it, dude. I thought you were just like further digging on him. I loved it. I thought you were ripping on him for it.
But that
'Cause it
that
did
is
look like
bad.
an A.
Yeah, but that's still I'm not ripping on them, but more so telling the truth right now. Like it looked like an A, it looked like S-U-A-T, and I didn't know what that means exactly. But the suit still doesn't. I mean, she wears a suit, so I guess there's that. But anyway, Sonya Deville, what do you think of this Impact signing? No pun intended here. Who looked at this first of all? Like you said, first of all, no X Division representation on the show. But they said, you know what we need? Another authority figure. In fact, we need to have an authority figure feud, is what we're going to build off this show. This was probably the most well-built storyline on this whole show, was the authority figures. But what do you think of Daria coming in?
Again, like this just felt like I was watching her. Like if she walked, like if WWE is a room, right, and she opens the door and she walks out of there, she just like opens another door that's called TNA and walks in and keeps doing the same fucking thing. Like that's what
No
it felt
change.
like. No change. And look, if this company's happy just recycling stuff like that, for sure. But like, this isn't like the undisputed era going to another company and reuniting, right? These are people that were like low card talent doing
Yeah.
low card shit. And now they're still doing that with absolutely no reinvention of themselves. Like, that's sad.
And this particular act she had moved on from it. Like, this act failed. And she went back to the shooter, like, MMA person thing by the time she left in WWE. And now she's just returning to her old gimmick from 3-4 years ago on here. So it's all bad. I personally don't see a lot in her, in all honesty. She wouldn't have been somebody I reached out to at all. I get the storyline they're going for, I suppose. But nevertheless, at first Daria comes in like a babyface and is like, yeah, TNA, this is where it's at. Look at how big. Look at all this. And it was almost like a Triple H type of move, like, look at all this. looking at the fans and stuff. And she's like, you always make everybody smile, Santino, even me. But it's time for the smiles to be over in TNA because we don't need you, Santino. They need discipline, structure, and professionalism. And so Santino's all like, oh, calm down. It's okay. We're friends. And she's like, shut up. Like, when I talk, the suit is talking. And that's when you shut up. And yes, she did say that. You mentioned that, right?
Dude,
so,
when she said that, Dylan, I fucking popped. So I was like, okay, end of year awards, first off, right? I think it's a little bit too early. I think it's a little bit too early to talk about it right now. I digress. Please continue.
Yeah, so she comes in and she says, but it's not over yet, people, because she made her first big move and signed a new knockout to TNA. And she points to this top of the stage and out. Why did they do this? They signed Elena Black, Cora Jade. She walked out to no pop, by the way. And not only was it, yeah.
Absolutely no pop. And then you compare that to Sol Ruka and Zarya coming out later, and people are like frothing at the mouth like fucking cartoon wolves howling, you know? And it's just like, dude, their roster is so like, that's the thing is this WWE relationship only illustrates into like how low this TNA roster is sometimes. And like in terms of like legitimate star power. Because like when like NXT characters come on TV, and they're going to get the loudest reaction of the night. At least that's what it felt like to me outside of maybe that AJ Styles pop. Yeah, like go back to the drawing board.
One, yes, everything you said was true. Two, they had her come out. She literally stands on the ramp with no charisma, like whatsoever. Like just looks totally bored. She looks like she'd rather be doing a secret video match with Mandy Rose, which has circulated recently. Not that I know anything about that. But nevertheless, she's out here, and she comes out to like this rap theme on top of it, not her like the one she had at NXT that people might know. She comes with this theme that doesn't fit her at all. She looks bored. And then they cut to the ring, and Daria and Santino were like, oh, this is another thing, too, where, like, you talked about it earlier about the commentary. This is when Tom was like, oh my God, man, it's Elena Black. We haven't seen her in months in this company. She was in NXT and then she left and now blah, blah, blah. It's like, come on, it's Cora Jade. Like, calm down. Like, you know, like we know who she is and what she's about. And I'm not trying to be mean. Like, but is this really what identity are you trying to create with these signings? The Righteous and Cora Jade. Like, and Sonya. Like, why? Why for any of these people? I will say this. Despite not seeing anything in either of these two women, I am happy that they do get a chance. Elena Black has been open about her struggles with mental health. And perhaps if this run can turn out and she could do something in this company, maybe that could be something good for her. And Daria has overcome a lot too in her personal life. It's nothing personal against these people. It's the talent level, and not only the talent level, your role in the company and why they're looking for people like this that gives us so many issues, I would say. So then they cut to AJ again. He's walking into like this closet that Mike Santana's in. You couldn't, again, Okay, I'm sure. Let's be honest. We can presume that the righteous Sonya and Elena Black are not breaking the budget for TNA. Could we not have put some of that into a backstage setting that looks like anything? This literally looked like a closet. It was dark. You could barely see Santana's face here. And AJ says, I can't believe I'm saying this because I've known Kazarian for 20 years. Frankie's my guy, but you need to kick his ass. And Santana's like,
Oh,
thanks, bro. Huh?
just sorry, I was saying like, oh,
Yeah,
because of
yeah.
what AJ Styles said.
Yeah, and then Santana's just like, thanks, bro. And
This
they
wasn't
dap
even
up.
like him putting over Santana. It was just him
No, not
burying
at all.
Kazarian.
No, even that. It was barely even that. It was just him walking and saying a sentence or two on there. He just said he wanted to Kazarian to get his ass beat. That's all. That's not a lot. You could have done something. Why couldn't AJ's promo at the start been a battle with Kazarian, and then Santana could have came out and they could have had a moment together in the ring, and not in the closet here. Uh, so then more TNA presence here. They cut to the ring, and there's this random person in this huge fur coat, surrounded by the Elegance brand, who, to their credit, they did at least look very major league with their attire. They're like this was a good act. You could tell what they're about right away. It's stupid, like we can tell that immediately, but at least there's like a thorough line of this gimmick, which is more than you could say for a lot of this show. Like Elena Black just walked out and just stood there and did nothing. We don't know anything. Here, at least you get him right away. If you've never seen him before, you get what this is about. And they turn, and who's there with them? But Perez Hilton. Amazingly,
This was like if Masawa came back from the grave.
this was not like that in any way whatsoever. I would say, but
Perez Hilton was in that emerald green outfit, dude. I think he was paying tribute. Do you think he was?
oh yeah, absolutely. Like clearly a huge fan. Honestly, he was the one that they basically hyped the most on social media. That he's going to
Did
be
you
here.
see that Sean Ross Sapp tweet where he there's a Perez Hilton tweet that's like, tune in tonight on TNA to catch me live for the premiere on AMC. And it has like 4 favorites and 2 retweets. And Sean Ross Sapp just quotes it and says, great engagement.
He's another one. I think he might have gotten. They should have put me and SRS in the crowd instead of those other guys. We would have got a bigger pop, I think, than who we actually had. But I will say this. First of all, I don't know him at all. Like Perez Hilton. Like I know the only thing I could gather from what I've read is that he's like a TMZ type of guy. And that's fine. Like whatever. Like he clearly another sad excuse for a celebrity that TNA's brought in. But I will say this about him.
This was AEW is forgiven for Young Gravy.
Yeah, young gravy. No, I will say this honestly, like real talk right now. I think this was one of out of all the people they brought in, this was probably their best because, again, I don't know this guy at all. Like I vaguely know his name. I don't know anything about his work, what he's done. If he's a celebrity, if he's a star, controversial. I don't know. But when you look at this guy and you hear him talk right away, there's nobody watching this that would not want to knock this guy out. Like he's clearly obnoxious and a gigantic asshole, and that's good for this gimmick. Like he's a good heel character. He immediately started to talk shit about the crowd. It was like, Dallas, you brought your game, but your D game, and he looked all mad. And he was like, "This place sucks. There's nothing but degenerate pigs in there." And finally, they're gonna take home the gold. And then we see what they claim is the unveiling of the greatest makeover in wrestling history. And this guy turns around, and he is introduced as Mr. Elegance, and he is freaking ripped. I don't know who this guy is either, if he's a celebrity or an actual wrestler, but he's jacked. And I cannot imagine he's good. like with how he looks. Uh, but he dances around like an idiot and was like, "Look at me, look at my body." And they talked about something where they showed a guy on the screen last week. And it was like, "Last week I was big and I weighed 300 pounds, and now look at me." So I don't know what this gimmick is, but like of everything, this was like the one thing that I could classify as at least effective. Like I don't think it was good per se, but this felt like an effective heel act between this gimmick. But that would go away quickly because we had to watch them wrestle next. That's where the big problem comes in. So out comes the inspiration to make everything just worse. Just why would you put this on your first episode? Why would you do this? Uh, so they come out with the Knockouts tag belts, and they have a match. I will say this: M by Elegance hit a really nice moonsault in this match. And the rest was basically a train wreck. There was a lot of messed up moves, a lot of bad things happening. Mr. Elegance got taken out. So they already kind of blew their gimmick on that in the first place. At the end of the day, and I thought they were going to do something with Hilton and have him again. It would have made perfect sense for him to get knocked out by a babyface here, and instead he just kind of shuffled off, and they ended up doing M by Elegance ended up rolling up Cassie Lee and getting the win to win the Knockouts titles, and they ended up saying that this is the end of the inspiration. Like, I don't know if this is stipulation, but the match was really bad. I thought. Did you take anything from this?
No, this was so bad. Like I wrote down so many notes where I was like, "Who the fuck is Mr. Elegance?" This guy looked like
I don't know.
Griff Garrison's little brother. You know?
Oh, but he's way better shape than Griff, though.
Exactly. That's why Mr. Elegance.
Yeah.
Get out of here, Griff's ripped.
He was jacked, man. Mr. Elegance. I don't know anything about him as a wrestler, but the look was there. Again, I thought this was an effective heel act, but the wrestling was awful. And I mean, you're not gonna anything the inspiration does is not gonna be good, like in the ring. Like they would have been much better served just having them cut a promo. Like that's what they're known for. Like they're charismatic, kind of fun personalities, much like Indy. Like that's what they're known for. There's no reason to push these two as pro wrestlers in the ring. And the Elegance brand didn't leave any good will on me. Like I said, I thought M by Elegance hit a nice moonsault. And everything else was just a disaster. A very, very poor match, I would say. I wouldn't be surprised if around this point, we talked about it. I feel like these ratings are going to be a big reality check for this show, because I think a lot of people tuned out during this show, in my opinion. So, after that, they cut backstage. At least this was well lit, unlike that closet Santana was in. We cut to Stax, whatever his name is, like Stax Lorenzo, and Ariana Grace, Santino's daughter. And so they were bragging about how they infiltrated TNA as a part of NXT, and Santino hates her now, and she doesn't care because she's going to do a way better job than anything that he ever did. And whatever Stax does, whatever Santino throws at Stax, we know that Stax will do it for Daddy's little girl.
Yay.
Probably a better gimmick than the like beauty queen stuff she was doing in NXT, like to be a heel. But I've seen Stax wrestle enough times to know this is not who I'd be putting a belt on if I were running a promotion. But whatever, more mafia stuff, I suppose. They do this, and this is weird. They do an injury report angle here where they like show a hype video of people who are not here. And they're like, Myla Grace, she's out. But hey, like Zaya Brookside and Lei Ying Lee, they're cleared. Okay, why aren't they wrestling then? Some would say. Like Steve Macklin, he's out, but we'll be back next week. Another of your best workers not on the show. And finally, Santana's cleared. What a sad state it would be if he wasn't. I don't even know why they showed that video. They could have easily just shown a promo for any one of these acts and let them get over in their own way. Instead, you wasted everyone's time with this. And by the way, this company hasn't even been shooting for like over a month now. How did all these people get hurt? Like when they were off? I will say, I like Steve Macklin a lot. Mila Grace she looks amazing, and she was getting better in Marigold before she went back. We'll see if they do anything with any of these people. They cut to Indy Hartwell in the back, and she's talking about a dog collar match she had, which I can only imagine was a disaster. And she's like, I've changed forever after that, but I'm here to fulfill my dream. And then the Elegance brand walk in. They say that some people dream about it and some people do about it. And they end up saying, hey, if you don't shut up, we'll knock you back to Australia. And they basically say, talk to Santino if you want a shot. And Indy's like, I will. So look forward to an Indy Hartwell title challenge, I suppose, here for a tag belt. I mean, I don't know what's going on there, but whatever. Santino's back in the ring. Another Santino segment here. So they said, no, we haven't had enough Santino on this show. We haven't had enough of our authority figure. Bring out the Angel Warriors, Lei Ying Lee and Zaya Brookside. A completely random team of people, I do have to say. This is when Santino talks about the international visa crisis, and Danny Luna is the latest victim of this. It wasn't just the others. She also is out, and he's all talking about like, hey, Lei Ying Lee, you have an open challenge for Genesis, right? And then Sol Ruka and Zarya come out and they get a huge reaction. And they were all like, we really wanted to get the tag belts at first, but since Danny Luna's not here, Zarya should get the belt. And Zarya's like, yeah, okay. So she signs the contract. Her and Lei Ying Lee shake hands. And they have a little bit of a stare down to set up their match as we speak. Like, probably on here. Again, it wasn't bad, so that's a positive on this show. But it was generic. Again, like, the best stuff on the show was totally forgettable pro wrestling, I would say. So, still, to be fair, though, honestly, of all the matches on that pay-per-view, that's probably the best match. Zarya and Lei Ying Lee. So, I like Lei Ying Lee a lot. I think that she's a really good worker and a fine champion. I just don't know if this is how I would use her. Nor would I have her team with Zaya Brookside, but that's neither here nor there. So then they go to a commercial and they cut back to Santino. Like, he's in the back. Like, we just saw him in the ring. Why did we cut to him to the back? And he's going in, talking about Cedric. He's like, he brings up the international visa crisis again. And he's like, Slater, he's not going to be there at Genesis. We need a replacement. And he's like, you could do it. Like, and Cedric's like, no, he's like, Cedric, you'll get your title shot, but it's going to be you, Moose, and Joe Henry. Which it remains unclear if this is actually for the title or not. But nevertheless, they zoom in to Cedric Alexander's phone, which has a crack in it. They couldn't get this brother a new phone for your TV debut? Go back and watch it. I'm not making this up, Nello. His phone was cracked because they showed Joe Henry show up on his phone because he couldn't be bothered to be here. But they put him on his phone, and there's a crack in his phone. He dropped this thing, man. I've had a cracked phone before. I don't know if you have. But I noticed.
Oh, my phone is cracked right now. So.
Oh, see, you and Cedric, man, like the brothers in arms here.
I refuse to put a case on.
I have a case on mine. When I broke mine the first time, I was like, nope. Like, I'm not doing this again. So when I got my new phone, I ended up, I mean, this is years ago now. It's not new anymore. But when I did, I made sure to put a case on it because I didn't want to be like Cedric and show up on TV, a TV appearance with a cracked phone. Um, he's good. Why wasn't he wrestling on this show? Like that's another thing. He was right there. You could have made a match with him, an X Division showcase or whatever. I don't know. So then the group known as the System comes out, and they say the System is on AMC, so they let us know who they are. This is Eddie Edwards and Dango and Eddie's wife. And Eddie's like, TNA means everything to me. I gave my soul for this business, and this is a special night. And he says, me and Dango, this is going to be our last dance. Then Dango's all like, this is the best crowd in the whole business right here in TNA. And Saturday's going to be my last ever match. And he says, I'll be back next week as a retired wrestler with a reveal of who's going to replace me. And they're like, I love you like a brother, but I'm not going to go out like a punk. He looks at Eddie and he says, you pull the trigger or I will. So thoughts on Dango retiring? Big angle here. Big angle.
Yeah, one of the biggest on the show. Honestly, he was fun. He's a weird guy, and good on him for going out on his own terms. And I hope he's happy.
He said he's not going out like a punk, unlike some people. Was he talking about Cena with that?
Oh, could be a shoot.
Yeah, Dango just shot on Cena here on Impact. That should be a good match, honestly, but it's not anything that's just seeing Edwards in this company is so weird to me. Like, I remember the guy, the Wolves Eddie, like GHC champion and no Ring of Honor champion, and then you see him here and he's like this like deathmatch worker looking guy. Like here. Like, it's just what happened? Like what happened to you, man? But we'll see. But we're not done yet with the reveals, Nello. Because they bring out President Carlos Silva. Definitely one of the top levels of ass kissers in this business. And he says that I have a big surprise for all the fans here. In TNA, we're all about the fans. We're all about our legacy. And the story of TNA could not be told without this. And out comes Dixie Carter to boos. And pretty heavy ones at that. Like, this was probably one of the bigger reactions on the show. They booed her, and she's like, I can't believe it was 20 years ago that I, came into TNA. And she's trying to be respectful. The company's in the best spot ever. Thank you guys. God bless y'all. Blah, blah, blah. And then Bubba Ray comes out. They hug. And he's like, hey, me and Dixie, we finally made up. And she's an amazing woman. And I love her. And the crowd just booed. All of this. This is another thing. I think you could have gotten a babyface pop if one of the women, decked Dixie. Like, that would have at least gotten somebody over on there. But they didn't do that. You have any thoughts on seeing Dixie in 2026?
It had the same effect as bringing Hogan out early last year. It was just like, why are you doing this? Like,
yeah.
You can bring out anyone you want, and you choose to bring out this person. Okay.
Yeah, and she's known as a huge villain to most TNA fans. If anything, I will say this. Again, I'm trying to find positives in this terrible show. The fact that they did react to her and boo her so much, that at least shows that a portion of the crowd at least followed TNA when she was there. To at least know who she was. Because she hasn't been there in over a decade. At the end of the day. Basically, since they were on Spike TV, she was out. because she refused to fire Vince Russo and stupidly emailed the wrong person. Or he stupidly emailed the wrong person and exposed it. But that at least shows there is a passion for the TNA that once was. And there was a lot of those people in the crowd. So that's something. Because to me, if you ask me, and I am somebody who at one point liked TNA. Like the early days. You know, the AJ, Samoa Joe, Daniels era and all that. Like, that was my jam. Like, when I started wrestling, I wanted to be the ex-champion. That was one of my stated goals I had. Like, I thought I could make it there. And to see it, how it's happening, like this new era. And like the reports that we've gotten are so negative on things. But again, I will say at least there was respect to history. They played a video of everybody, like all the legends of the past and all that. Well, not all of them, but some of them, I would say. They showed a little bit of Daniels and AJ and all this. Was like, hey, TNA, we used to be good. Remember us on Spike? And they moved on from that to the main event. Mike Santana taking on Frankie Kazarian, challenging for the title. And now, first of all, this being what it is shows you how bad of a dumpster fire TNA's been lately, even before this show. And all reports I've heard are that this show was significantly worse than the Impact that was airing on Axis. Like, this is one of the, people who watched that show regularly said this was a huge step down. I don't want to say one way or the other. I just know that this show was bad. But one thing I do know was also bad about the past is Santana never should have lost his title in the first place. Like, you had your moment to make him the champion, and then you do what you always do with TNA. They have a history of this, going back to Bobby Roode, where they undercut a guy they build up to win the title. And that was like 15 years ago. But you undercut Santana to put over Kazarian, who's a good hand. Like, I'm not against him being on the roster. The same thing with Order 4 from earlier. But in this role, world champion, it's just not it. Like, at his age, at this point in his career, maybe at one point, back when he had hair, like, you could have made an argument that he could be an up-and-coming main event level guy. But it's been a long time. And he's just not a main event level guy. Like, if we're being honest. In this company, he may be, but I would have tried to hide that as best as possible. And it's a good story, though, because he did bet on himself. He could have stayed in AEW and been teaming with Scorpio Sky to this day, if he so chose. And just languishing and doing nothing forever, just like Scorpio Sky. But he decided that he deserved better and he wanted to be more. And he did. He got better and got more. Whatever our opinions on him, that's a fact. And that deserves praise when somebody knows their own value. But I do think this could have been a much more exciting match. And the match showed that. So we get into the match. And the match is going pretty good, honestly. Like, they're doing some basic stuff here. Santana does some good head scissors. He does like a springboard into a body splash on the outside. Santana has good fire, and I'm a fan of his. I was a fan of his in AEW. I was a fan of his in TNA the first time. I think he's a good promo and a good worker and a worthy champion to lead this company. But he comes in. At one point, he hits the code red. Kazarian hits the Angel's Wings. They try to do a little bit of callback spot. The same thing that AJ did in his match with Cena. And I gotta say, Nello, I was a little surprised that AJ didn't come out here. I kind of thought for sure that he would make an appearance and maybe cost Kaz the match, and that could lead to a future type of deal. But he was nowhere to be found. Like, all that build-up from earlier led to nothing at the end of the day. And but anyway, things are going pretty good. Then the ref gets bumped. After Kazarian drop kicks Santana into the ref, they try to do this finish. The match kind of goes off the rails at this ending. Santana's trying to do stuff with the referee. He gets up. They have a miscommunication on there, and like they're just having some trouble at the end of the day. At one point, Kazarian hits a destroyer, and Santana does the no-sell spot and hits the rolling lariat. And then things just mess up, and he just ends up going back to the rolling lariat one more time to win. I thought the match was going pretty good until the finish. And if they hit that cleanly, I think it would have been better. They should have dropped all the ref bump stuff. Cut that out, and you might have had a good little 7 out of 10 match if the moment felt like it. Instead, we got a 5.48, which is still the highest rated match of the show. And I do think this was the best match, to be fair, even though the finish got messed up and it really dragged it down. What do you think, and what do you think of these two in TNA right now? They're upside.
Like, they both bet on themselves. I'm pretty sure that was like part of the promo going into it, right? You mentioned that with Kazarian as well. Like, you can't deny that. They both became world champions of another company, which is really cool. But this moment felt super manufactured because we had just seen Mike Santana do this. And then it's like, they did this with Trick Williams and Santana. And then they were like, oh shit, we're going to go to AMC. So we need to do this again. So rather than just having like your world champion start the show, they tried to make a moment, but you still could have had a moment even with Santana starting the show as world champion. You know, for people who are tuning in for the first time on AMC, it would make no difference. You know, it's not like they know what's happened before that's gotten Santana here. And if that struggle's not super palpable, you're not going to really feel the extent of the win. So I think that this was just a bad call in general. Them totally missing the main event angle after this and having to upload it or whatever is like,
yeah, that was I was going to bring that up next.
Shit.
Yeah,
oh my god, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so the show ends and they're kind of like hanging on where they do the crowd shot and all that stuff. Santana's holding the belt, and then it just ends. And I thought, okay, I mean, I didn't think too much of it at the time. I wasn't aware of this Money in the Bank bullshit that they have going on right now. But then what do we reveal minutes later online? They run an angle where Nick Nemeth cashes in on Mike Santana. After the show ends, he cashes in. The show's over. Like, the show is over. And they run an angle. They ran out of time. Again, it's what I said earlier about the visa thing, Nello. They knew this show was coming. They knew they were going to have a hard out. It wasn't going to be like Axis where the company owns you or whatever. They knew what was going to happen. So how do you screw up this much where you blow your main event angle? It's not just a minor angle. This was your main event. How do they do this? Like, who is involved with this? Who is in charge? If I were running this company, if I was Silva, I'd have a line of every single person responsible for this show, booking, and not just the in-ring stuff, but the booking of the talent. And we'd all be sitting down, and there'd be some heads that would roll after this, in and out of the ring. Because they failed on every single level of this. First of all, it's dumb right away to do this show 2 days before your pay-per-view, your big debut. Like, such a quick turnaround. You're repeating the main event from the show. What are you doing? There's no hope for this show. Just, if it were me, throw in the towel, put it up for free, and maybe try to make it a make good to the fans, because everybody hated this. There was no positive comments. Like, there was no hope that anyone would be willed to watch more of this. They were just probably just disgusted, I would say. It wasn't even a bad show. It was disgustingly bad. What did you think of TNA, the main event angle with Nick Nemeth?
Who cares? Like, really, just I feel like even if they got it on the show, it would have been good for them, but it would have made no difference in the eyes of the audience.
No, like you said, who cares? Like right away, that's the most important thing you can say. Who cares? But secondly, it's just the principle of it. You know, like how do you fuck up this bad? You knew it was gonna happen. Like you knew this show was coming. Like what excuse can there be to not have your visas in order, not have your contracts in order, where guys are getting signed days before the show, not able to fit your show in the time with 3 matches in 2 hours? You still went over. How do you do that if you're TNA? How is that even possible that you screw up in so many levels? 1.55 on Cagematch now. Would you say that the inmates were generous or too hard?
I'd say they're right on the money. You know,
Yeah,
sometimes I may disagree with the inmates, but you know what? I think that the only thing they're guilty of at this time is being right.
Let's go to some of the comments. Let's go to Mask Day Mask. 0 out of 10. I don't understand the format of this show, what they were trying to highlight, or if they were even trying something at all. The production was really bad all night, starting from the AJ Styles entrance where the music didn't hit until 10 to 15 seconds, making that entrance seem awkward. They also did a lot of shots to famous people in the crowd, showing a lot of empty seats during the process. That did happen. The wrestling wasn't bad. Some of it was, but not enough quantity for a 2-hour show. Why was the 6-man the opener not a high-energy X Division match? Yes. I prefer not to talk about the Ryan Nemeth and Elegance brand promos. I was a huge TNA fan for like 10 years, but I didn't watch a lot the past few years. This was a missed opportunity for them, and I'm not happy about this. All accurate, I would say. Everything he said. On the other hand, though, I lied. There was a positive comment here. Let's go to Wrestling Fan Lifer. 8 out of 10. The event had good amount of angles, and the crowd enjoyed themselves. I didn't hate this event. Could it have been better? Yes. But was never really boring. I watched it back twice to see the outrage. I still don't see the fuss. Sure, you didn't have a lot of wrestling, but wrestling isn't everything. 8 out of 10. Wrestling Fan Lifer, in his own words. I did not make any of that up. I just stated the facts. So we did get 1 vote for 8 out of 10, 1 vote for 7 out of 10, and 37 votes for 0 out of 10. And 32 for 1 as well, so that was bad too. So now we have to... I will say this. I thought about this while you were watching the show, what I would have done with all of this. How could this have been better? Because one of my biggest issues with this show, if it were me, and I was put in charge of TNA immediately after the Rascal got signed and we couldn't bring anybody in for the visa crisis, the international visa crisis. And they said, we need a new blood in here. Dylan's taking charge. Okay. My goal would be to try to do stuff that establishes my identity and be different than WWE. I will quote the great Wei Ting in their review of this show, where he said, TNA seems like the nether realm for WWE. Which, as a Mortal Kombat fan, I appreciate that reference, first of all. Secondly, even Quan Chi wouldn't be a part of this show. But that describes this well. And it did make me laugh. But that's not the identity I want to have for this company. What I would do, I looked up and down their roster, and I have to say it was kind of scary looking at their roster. Because I realized when I was going up and down this show, or up and down this roster, there really aren't any X Division guys. You know, there is no up-and-coming, young, flashy type of guy. The only one is Slater. Like, everyone else is a flyer of some note, but older, or just a decent wrestler, or injured, like some people were. So I tried to force this card out. We'll see what you think of it, Nello. The first thing I would do, okay, we realize that Leon Slater cannot be here. We are starting the show. The first thing you see when this show hits the air is a vision of the Ultimate X structure. We're running the Ultimate X. This is our original match. AEW does not do this. WWE does not do this. This is our match. Ultimate X. I've got Cedric Alexander, Rich Swann, Mustafa Ali, and I would get some guy from NXT or Evolve, whoever they want to send. When I looked up their names of people that I would fly, that I thought would be good in this match, I picked Dante Chen, but you could pick anybody. If Zozaya could come over, that's fine too. But just send somebody over that doesn't win, but can have experience in this crazy match type. You have a high-flying spectacle, like fast-paced. You know, these guys, it's a car crash match. Somebody takes a huge bump. I thought about putting in Nemeth as the fourth guy if he wanted to take a big bump off the thing. Do that. Ultimate X is where we start off. Have Sinner and Saint face the Hardys. I would have every single person on this show that's in a match. They should have a promo describing who they are, what their goals are, and what they're about. You've got 30 to 60 seconds. You get yourself over. Every single person would have that because you kind of alluded to it earlier. Pretty much 99% of people watching this never watched you on Axis. They don't know what's going on. They don't know the storylines, and they don't care, which is why this story-heavy show fell so flat. So start with the Ultimate X match and promise you whoever wins faces Slater at a later date. Have Cedric win, whatever, that's fine. It's a good match, though. You have Sinner and Saint get over Williams and Icarus. They're a really good young team. They did great stuff in the Northwest. Let them have a showcase match versus the Hardys. Hardys defend the tag belts on the show. I would do, if we're going to have Daria come in, I'm not a fan of hers, really. I personally wouldn't bring these people in. But knowing that they did, I would have Daria run an angle where Santino is putting Stacks against Bear Bronson. Like your most hardcore badass guy that's under TNA contract. And say, like, Bear's coming for you and he's going to beat the shit out of you and for stealing my daughter or whatever. And Sonya comes in, Daria comes in, and she protects Stacks, saying he will only defend the international title on pay-per-view. And that leads to Bronson calling out anybody who whoops ass and is like, let's get it on. Out comes Mance Warner. So, Bear Bronson, Mance Warner. The only thing I care about in this match is that there's blood. Like, I don't care if it's a good match, hardcore, whatever. Like, just have somebody bleed. It also sets up Bear's journey to win gold in TNA as his big redemption, and he's a good signing for TNA. He was one of, we talked about him constantly in the awards as the Indie Wrestler of the Year. And he's a guy you could do great things with. So have them there. Like, you have these guys under contract. Why aren't they on the show? I don't know, but I'm running it this time at the end of the day. So then I would have Lei Ying Lee versus M by Elegance. Let her have a little breakout moment, but ultimately looks strong. She gets to have a big standout moment with the title. I'd have Special Agent Zero squash somebody. Again, he's one of the best people on the roster and should be spotlighted. Not standing on the outside, for sure. And I would have had AJ Kazarian, as I said, be in the ring, have it be substantial. What I also would have done, I would have had him say something saying that, like, if Santana doesn't shut you up, maybe I will. I would keep it much more ambiguous if AJ wants a shot at the belt, or even at Kazarian, because they kind of alluded to that when him and Kazarian were backstage. He looked at the belt for a second, but I would have made it much more ambiguous. I want to convince people he's going to have a match in the future. Maybe it won't happen, but I don't care. I'm trying to convince people that it will at the end of the day. Another way I think this could have been better that they hugely flopped at, I would have had more of the real legends that you had access to for TNA. From the era that everybody has fond memories over. People, I'm talking, listen, and I know that Sting's in AEW and Jarrett's in AEW. I get that. You're not going to be able to get them. That's fine. But you could have brought in, listen to this names: Kurt Angle, James Storm, Bobby Roode, Raven, who has a documentary. He's all over the place. He would have came in for this. Rude works for you. Storm would have came into this. Machine Gun. Saban's a former world champion. Bring them all in. Have all the former world champions along with AJ and Bubba. Like, they're all there. They would be there to hand the title to the winner and make the main event feel more special. Again, main event's fine idea with the roster you've got. Just have Santana win clean. No bullshit like they did here. And at the end, I would have a segment where maybe all the legends hold the title and they're passing it around and it finally gets to AJ. And then before he gives it to Santana, he holds it a little bit longer than he's supposed to. And then give it to Santana. Again, you leave on a good note. Santana's put over. The legends all celebrate him, maybe hold him up on their shoulders or whatever. It's confetti, all that. Like, all the celebration stuff you need. Santana's the face of the company, and the legends are there, and it's a special show. This didn't feel a special show at all. You had people like Perez Hilton and people that I don't even know him, but I know the others even less. So, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this. So with what they did, they basically had a worse than usual episode of their Axis show with bad production values too, by the way. That's another thing they should take care of. It was just an abysmal failure. And I think my version of the show, I would have accomplished multiple goals. You had the X Division showcased. You had blood. They don't do that in WWE. And you had legends that celebrate the history of TNA. At the end of the show, because I remember saying, the difference between this and Ring of Honor is Ring of Honor doesn't have an identity. TNA has an identity. The problem is that identity is LOL TNA. And it just got worse with this. Any thoughts on any of that? No.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I think you put it all very eloquently. And yeah, it definitely has an identity, and it's a bad one. Do you want to hear the breaking news coming out of Genesis?
What?
So there was a mystery signing debuting in the international title match, the 4-way. And the newest TNA signing is KJ Orso.
Okay, he's a good signing.
Yep.
Like, again, I mean, you've got...
Sucks he's in TNA. Poor guy.
That's the thing is, you've signed Bear Bronson, KJ Orso, and Mance Warner. You've got good indie talent that you're bringing in at the end of the day. Like, these are names that I would have on my list in all likelihood. But what are they going to do with him is the problem. And he would be a good X Division guy, too, if they wanted to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the Ultimate X match, right? I would have loaded this show up with just TNA signature matches, a Monsters Ball, something like that, right?
That would be
Mance
great.
Warner,
Yeah,
Bear Bronson, your hardcore guys. Hell yeah. Like, give me anything, something with energy, and all we got was this.
If they're doing a Monsters Ball, I want them locked up for 24 hours before the match, just like they did before. Remember?
Yeah.
Where they're like, no food, no water, no light. And they will wrestle 24 hours later. That's another thing they could have done. Like, stuff to make it special on here. You could have shouted out so much, and they didn't. But anyway, we'll see what the future holds for this company. And we'll see what the future holds for us. I have more ideas in the future. This may have been a miss. But I will say this. And I mean this with sincerity in my heart, Nello. I wanted to give this a chance. Because it's a big deal. Like, all jokes aside, how terrible this was aside, the fact that they're on a real network, that counts for something in 2026. And it does matter. And I wanted to give them a chance. But they blew it. And not just to us, not just to the inmates. It's been universal. We're not saying anything that you didn't already know, to be honest. But nevertheless, hopefully you enjoyed our look at it. Hopefully you enjoyed our show better than that show, for sure. We did a better job than that. But nevertheless, as always, Nello, coming off the awards, best and worst of the year, we get to TNA, and the future is a rocky road, a lonely road. What do you got to say to the people before we get out of here?
If you were looking forward to this show, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry
I'm
TNA
sorry
let you
too.
down.
We apologize for TNA.
On behalf of Carlos and TNA, I'd like to say sorry.
Well, people need to apologize, but it's not us. We did the best we could with the material we were given. But nevertheless, like I said, we'll be back soon. So keep your eyes peeled and your ears open. It's gonna be a fun month. My birthday's coming up. Just 10 short days here as we record. So it should be a lot of fun there. We're gonna do some cool stuff in the future. But let us know what you think. Blue Sky, Twitter, all that stuff. It's all good, all fun. And as always, you know I love you. And until next time, this has been your Wrestle Update.